outside the off stump. Oh, he's caught it! I don't believe it! Tom Kohler-Cadmore has caught the most magnificent catch. At short third man, it's the end of Daniel Sams, and Somerset have won the Vitality Blast 2023. They've bowled Essex out for 131.
Hello there, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd, and joining me this evening, I've got the custodian of the maidens bowled by Somerset players in men's cricket list, Dan Kingdom, and the voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, Anthony Gibson. Gents, it's been a good fortnight since we've all been together, and 4 wins and 1 loss. 4 wins on the bounce, a loss away to Kent a couple of Fridays ago. Are they too rosy? Is there a slip up around the corner at the M5 on Friday night? Let's hope not. We'll get to that in a minute. Where should we start? Should we start at the beginning then? Kent away a few weeks ago. You both went. I watched it on the live stream on my own. Nobody else was with me when I watched it on Teams or anything like that. Did have your commentary on, Gibbo, which was very nicely synced up. And we kind of ballsed it up, but you kind of have to say chapeau, Sam Billings and Joe Denley, well played.
Yeah, Billings was outstanding, but we should have defended 196. We honestly didn't. We didn't bowl very well. Even Tango, Steve Kirby at the end, when I spoke to him, admitted that we hadn't actually bowled as well as we could have done. But we've got better since then, and I think lessons have been learned. So onwards and upwards.
Did it feel like they thought the game was won when it was 37 for 4, getting towards the end of the power play? You just think, well, a wicket will come. One of these two get themselves out, and then it's job done.
Yeah, I think that may very well have been going through their minds. But if you've got Sam Billings and Joe Denley at the crease, you know the game is never won, which is very much as I felt on Friday night with the return match, when again Kent had lost early wickets, but you thought unless we can break that partnership, they're still in the game. And Billings was he was outstanding, and we just weren't quite at the races with the ball.
Sonny Baker made his Somerset T20 debut. His Somerset T20 debut, as we are at pains to say that he actually made his official T20 debut for one of them Chris Backett teams a couple of years ago in the other competition. How did you think he went down? I thought he started off really well.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, he bowled quick. He bowled as we've seen him bowl in the second 11 this year, as can be the case for someone of his pace. He did go for a few later in the innings. Obviously, Billings was had really got going by then. I think he performed credibly, and I think he's his figures aren't great. He got his maiden wicket. He's certainly still, I think, in contention to play again in the tournament if we need him. So it was a decent enough start for him, I think. And yeah, he was. I saw him get his cap before the game. The players were all delighted for him. He was delighted. So hopefully it's the start of him being a regular in the team at some point, hopefully.
He's been in and out of the last few squads, and he wasn't in the last 2 or 3 squads, was he? It seems to be they're going to either pick him or Meredith as that out-and-out pace in that bowling attack.
Yeah, I think so. As I say, if he's a regular, it won't be just yet. But we certainly will see him, I'm sure, as a regular in a couple of years' time, I think. So I'm sure he'll get there, as long as he stays injury-free, and that's obviously the main thing. And also, hopefully he signs a new contract with us.
Yes, we're going to be given to our little brigade of players who are out of contract at the end of the season, a little bit later. No prizes for guessing who's going to be top of that list when we start talking about those. Was there much else to talk about, Kent? I think you pretty much summed it up, Gibbo. They just weren't quite at the races with the ball, and Sam Billings had a day out.
They rested Riley Meredith.
Well, they did. I expect that's because of the coach journey rather than the 4 overs. I don't know. Is it that?
My theory as well is logically he would have been rested for perhaps the game at Lords, but he probably really wanted to play at Lord's because he'd obviously never played there before. So, you know, that and that obviously that worked. He got a 4 for him brilliantly there. A couple of quick things about the Kent game as well. I just think we fell a bit short with the bat. We probably should have got at least 210, 220. The second half of the innings, we just slowed down a bit. I think Kent bowled well to keep us away from the short leg side boundary. Whereas Kent, when they batted, exploited that short leg side boundary a lot better than we did. And yeah, with the ball, I think it was the first time we've lost batting first for almost 2 years in T20 cricket. And once we got them 39 for 4, as we were just alluding to, we probably were just assuming, well, we've got this in the bag now. We always pull this off. We're capable of defending anything, and we have been over the last 2 years. So perhaps we just took the foot off the gas ever so slightly. But thankfully, we've improved since then in that regard and defended a couple more scores. I think we batted first against Hampshire, Glamorgan, and Kent at home. So hopefully that was just a temporary blip.
Well, it seems to be, because since then we've been unbeatable, literally. The Hampshire game was obviously centred around that fantastic 140-odd partnership between Tom Abel and Sean Dixon, batting at 4 and 5. I've written down here on my notes the Abel-Dixon fulcrum, because they do seem to be the backbone of the Somerset batting in T20 cricket. And if they come off and they play their roles in between overs sort of 6 to 14, if you like, if they get to overs sort of 14, 3 or 4 down, then that really gives the likes of Ben Green and Lewis Gregory, Craig Overton licence to go in those last one, and themselves obviously licence to go in those last 6 overs, which is pretty much what happened on Sunday, or last 2 Sundays ago.
2 Sundays. That didn't happen last Sunday.
Yeah, 2 Sundays
they scored
ago.
Three between them.
Yeah.
I was saying on commentary just almost exactly what you just said. Oh, we've got the engine room of Abel and Dixon. They came in and they both got out in no time at all. And thank goodness for Craig Overton and Rolla van der Merwe. But that's the strength of the Somerset side. You know, it's got strength all the way down to number 9. So if the middle order does disintegrate, as it did against Glamorgan, at least you've got really experienced, really high quality all-rounders coming in towards the end of the innings. I thought Craig Overton batted brilliantly against Glamorgan. It was him as much as anyone who set that win up, and it shows the value of having that strength in depth, which is one of Somerset's T20 greatest attributes. You know, the fact that we do bat all the way down to number 9 or even number 10. And if Jack Leach gets the call up, which Mark Davies keeps saying he ought to, and he might do it at Bristol as well, because I suspect, you know, the Gloucesters will prepare a pretty slow, nipping about pitch to try and negate the pace like fire of Riley Meredith and Craig Overton. Then Jack Leach, Centurion for the seconds, could come into the side.
Gibbo, you've absolutely trampled over my agenda. You've gone to Glamorgan, you're previewing the Gloucester game, you're talking about Jack Leach's 100 today. Let's get back to Hampshire at home. You're absolutely right. I completely agree. We just bat such a long way down that they can all go hard from ball 1, and if 2 or 3 come off, boom, that's the game won.
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
against Hampshire, we were 54 for 3 or 5.5 overs, and Abel and Dixon rebuilt beautifully. I mean, they could have just got 24 singles in the period from the end of the power play until the 10th over, but they didn't. They kept going, really. There was a minor slowdown, but, you know, as you'd expect. But they didn't really take their foot off the gas too much. And the thing was that they were so clinical in that innings. There was very little slogging. Not that I'm saying slogging is a bad thing in T20 cricket, but they hit so many 4s, and in the entire innings, we only hit 6 6s. To hit only 6 6s in a score of 241 is ridiculous. I think I haven't checked this. I don't know how I checked this, but I don't know if there's ever been a higher score with fewer 6s, which just shows how clinical we were with the bat and finding the gaps.
Yeah, watching it didn't seem like they were playing a shot in anger. I mean, Tom Abel just threads the eye of a needle like nobody I've ever seen in T20 cricket. You know, he can he can get 12 and over by scoring 6 twos. Will Smead will get 12 and over by hitting 2 sixes and missing the other 4, which isn't, you know, that's no slight on Will Smead. That's just the way that he plays. Will Smead could equally hit 36 off and over, whereas Tom Abel probably never will. And we were staring down not quite staring down the barrel, but it was looking slightly squeaky bum time when they were 77 for none after 7 overs. But cometh the hour, again cometh Ben Green, who keeps doing it. They keep falling for it. It keeps happening. You keep calling him lucky. You can't be lucky for best part of a season and a half where people keep holding out to long off or missing straight ones. I just keep watching him, and it's so subtle. It's so nuanced what he's doing. It's incredible.
Mark Davis spent a couple of hours with the Kent players at their hotel lunchtime before the game on Friday.
Oh, did he try and get them pissed? I hope so.
Oh no! He just because he's big mates with he coached Daniel Bell Drummond, so and they're still very big mates. But he asked the Kent batsman, you know, what was the secret of Ben Green, and what they said was he's got this dip. The ball it just dips. So when he's bowling these full length deliveries, you know, the low full tosses and what have you, they just dip at the last minute, and the batsmen think they're there for the shot, and they're not. And that's what the Kent batsmen who played him, you know, a fair bit, have said is the secret of his success. So it's not just luck. There's a lot of skill involved, and I don't know how you get that dip.
I was just thinking that because as a spin bowler, you'd get it to dip by sort of putting overspin on it, wouldn't you? But you can't really do that when you're bowling seam up unless you kind of rub your fingers over the side.
But that's what DVD and Co said is the secret of Ben Green's success.
The Ben Green dip.
Yeah. And he varies his pace well too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the other thing about it. And because he's so naturally strong, he can just sort of lollop in, and he can either bowl at sort of 65 miles an hour, or he can crank it up without too much additional effort showing in his action up to, you know, best part of 80 miles an hour. Because he is a naturally, you know, very strong bowler. So yeah, he's not just lucky. He's skillful, very skillful.
He's not been drafted by the other competition yet, but you assume that he will be. You assume that Meredith will be as well,
yeah.
Which is sad because you'd obviously want to see those two played in the One Day Cup.
Yeah,
and
with Meredith, they would have to. Yeah, Meredith would have to be an injury replacement because overseas players are signed, but Shane Afridi. And I think Shane Afridi might have been replaced by Matt Henry actually. But yeah, there would have to be an injury for Brian Meredith to come in at this point, I think. But yeah, I suspect there probably will be. So, I was never really hopeful he would actually play in the One Day Cup, despite the fact that we said he would.
Yeah, his time will probably spend a couple of weeks going around Europe. He probably might play the odd 1 or 2 at home just to get a few more bums on seats, I expect. But as he go, where did we go in the One Day Cup this year? We got Durham away, I think, is one.
Yeah, we do.
Can't see him going to that one. We're at Lords, so he might want to go back to there again. Northants, not sure if Wantage Road is that much of a draw. Durham, is that all of them?
Hampshire as well.
I've not got that in my diary. Have I missed that one? Oh, blimmin' heck.
First Sunday, I think, of the One Day Cup.
Oh, my word. Is that the 26th? No.
I think so.
Right, anyway, let's not worry about me missing dates in my diary. We'll crack on. What are we talking about? Hampshire. Ben Green being brilliant. Probably losing him to the 100 again. What else do we have on that? Not too much. Those pitch invaders were fun at the end, weren't they, Gibbo?
Which pitch invaders?
When we were doing the interviews with Abes and all of us.
Yes. Yeah.
So
well, I tend to ignore that sort of stuff.
Well, Spencer comes over to me afterwards and he goes, could you send us the footage because we need to prosecute these people and you'll need to blur it before you put it on social media, which is why I couldn't do it there and then. And if you do look back on the timeline, there's a big blur in the corner, so I had to teach myself how to do that before I could get that up. Anything else on Hampshire then? I mean, Ben Green 5 for 29, joint best figures for him. Like I say,
first man to take 2 T25ers for Somerset, and he is the leading wicket taker in the tournament in his rightful place once again, as he was for most of last season until Matt Henry overtook him at the last moment. He's got 14 wickets with quite a few next on 13,
and he's got, if not still, the lowest strike rate. It's just about the best strike rate. He was going at a wicket every 7 balls. I think it's a few more than that now, but even so, it's a remarkable strike rate he's got.
It's still better than most of the guys around him, as far as I can tell. So,
is he entering thoughts during England selection meetings?
No.
I mean, you'd have thought if he's not been picked up by one of the 100 teams as a first draft pick, you'd have thought not. But
no. If Riley Meredith was English, he'd certainly be entering selection.
He certainly would be. I mean, it's funny because what else would Ben Green have to do, being the type of cricketer he is? I know you could say, well, he could bowl 20 mile an hour quicker and hit more 45 ball centuries, but the role that he's doing, he can't do that essentially any better than he is at the moment.
It's just they don't really look for bowlers who are, I don't want to say as slow as him, but like medium pace bowlers are not really what England go for. But if Greener, the one thing he could do is problem is he bats at like 7, but if he got more opportunities with the bat and regularly scored, 40 off 20, that kind of innings, he'd be higher in selector stores. But I still think it's a bit of a long shot. But they picked Sam Curran, who's not the quickest, he's left armour.
I mean, Sam Curran is just a poor man's Ben Green, but because he plays for Surrey, that's the only reason he gets a gig.
Well, say that.
Yeah. I think Ben Green needs to be snapped up by one of the IPL franchises before he's going to be thought of as a potential.
Ben Green in the IPL. Now you're talking. Charging in for the Hyderabad Sunrisers or the Rajasthan Royals. I don't really watch the IPL. It's only thing I could remember off the top of my head.
If Benny Howell can get signed in the IPL, then Ben Green could. I mean, when Howell went to the IPL, it was one season he didn't actually get a game. But, Ben Green could if Howell can, I reckon.
He's not playing a lot of franchise cricket either, which I find weird. What's he...
I don't think Green ever played franchise cricket.
Let's have a look.
I don't think so.
Let's have a look at cricket.
He's played for Welsh Fire is his only team that he's played for. He's never played abroad in franchise cricket, as far as I can see.
Devon, they're pretty good. England under-19, Somerset and Welsh Fire. Well, that is absolutely mental that Ben Green has never got a franchise. Maybe he's not wanted one. I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine he would have turned an opportunity down, but, it is... It does seem pretty mental that he's not been picked up.
You think you get in the T10 or the ILT20, they have a lot of English players. So we'll see next winter, maybe.
Maybe you could share a taxi up to Heathrow and get him in the Abu Dhabi T10 for December, Gibbo.
Yeah.
Right, moving on then to the home of cricket, or the second home of cricket. Middlesex absolutely destroyed by everyone. Bowled out for, was it 72 in the end, 78, something like that, and it looked like it was going to be substantially less than that when they were 50 for 9. Meredith 4 for 12, Overton 2 for 21, Davey 2 for 13, Ben Green 2 overs, 2 for 17. Those 2 wickets for his first 2 balls, weren't they?
Yeah.
Just absolutely incredible bowling performance. and I thought a very, very well-paced and mature run chase from Tom Banton and Tom Kohler-Cadmore. It looks to me from the outside that Will Smead was just given licence to get a chunk of that or do it yourself in as quick as you can. But everyone else, assess those conditions, because the only way we're going to lose that is to be bowled out. The only way we're going to be bowled out on that pitch is to start playing silly shots. You knew it was doing a bit. They just knocked it round. I thought Tom Banton is having a season that we wished he'd had maybe a couple of years ago, where he's maturing into a very, very level-headed all-formats player.
Yeah, I thought his experience in red ball cricket really came into play in that innings, because it was seaming around. It was Meredith said it was a spicy pitch. There was plenty of carry, there was bounce, there was movement, and it was almost, there was more carry than you get facing Tim Murtaugh from the nursery end, in April. But the ball was moving around a bit, and Tom Banton used the skills that he's developed, particularly this season as a red ball player, just to knock it around. He had a bit of luck. He played and missed a few times, and he was dropped as well, wasn't he? Off an inside edge, or he was given not out. That's right, he was given not out when I think he probably did get an inside edge. But no, it was a very mature innings, and ditto from TKC, which is something you can't always say about Tom Kohler.
Yeah, that's why I'm calling it a very, very impressive and mature and because if you come away winning that game by 3 or 4 wickets, he's 78, 79 for 6 or 7. It doesn't quite have as much gloss on it, and it's not quite as enjoyable a coach ride home as if you're only 1 down. I know your net run rate would probably be better if you lost 7 wickets going mental, but just looks a bit nicer on paper. And let's be honest, our net run rate is so strong at the moment. I probably can't see it being overtaken in the group stage. Dan,
Middlesex are very poor, though. They are, they really are poor. There's no, the club is in disarray.
It's a shame we only play them once, really. Why is that? Do we know why we only play Middlesex and Sussex once?
It's been the same for the last 3 years.
It's mad.
Well, yeah, it's changed. Since 2014, when this format of the Blast came in, we've played 14 games. It used to be Essex and Sussex that we played once, and then it changed to Middlesex and Sussex in 2021. I believe the reason that it's 14 and not 16 is because these have done many reviews over the years, and one of their reviews was around 2013-ish, and they decided that the correct number of Blast matches per team was 14. They scientifically somehow reached that number, 14 games per team, and then they had to make 14 games per team fit the format. And obviously, it doesn't fit the format because it's an asymmetrical format. So it's just the way it is. Like they decided that it has to be 14 games, but we have to have two groups of 9.
Why is it Middlesex year after year after year that we only play once? If in the county championship, which is also asymmetric, some years you play Hampshire twice, some years just once.
I worked it out a few times, and if you kind of put the team who won it last year as 10 and go 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you kind of just add up all your fixtures. They're more or less the same for every team. But I mean, if we're the top seed, i.e. we won it last year, surely we should play the bottom seed twice, because that's the way it should go, shouldn't it?
It's not how it works. I mean, it's geographic. So from 2014 to 2019, every team always missed the same 2 games against other teams. Then in 2021 onwards, it changed, but since 2021, every team has missed the same games against 2 other teams. I think in the South Group, it's basically they make sure that obviously Somerset, Gloucester, Glamorgan always play each other twice, and it's basically each of those 3 Southwest teams are kind of paired up with 2 teams from the Southeast, and each trio doesn't play each other twice. And Kent and Glamorgan are in the same trio because that's the longest possible journey in the South Group. So they don't play each other twice. Partly it is to minimise journeys. I think it's Durham, Worcestershire, and Warwickshire in the north as well. Again, because Durham to Worcestershire is probably the longest north group journey.
Taunton to Lords isn't particularly bad, but Taunton to Canterbury, I imagine, would be pretty bad. So why do we only play Kent once and Middlesex twice?
Because for Gloucester, Glamorgan, and Somerset, Canterbury is their longest journey. So one of them has to play them twice. Well, two of us do. But because Glamorgan is the longest of all, I assume Cardiff to Canterbury is slightly longer than Taunton to Canterbury. So it's Glamorgan who get to not play them.
It's not by much. You're straight onto the motorway pretty much from either one.
Much.
Well, as I say, we can't all only play Kent once. So it's just the way it is.
They're not very good, Middlesex, and I wish we were playing them twice.
Yeah.
Well, the form we're in at the moment, I think we could play any team twice, and we'd still do all right. Right, what was that? That was Tuesday then. Anything more on Middlesex away?
Nope.
You were both there. It was on Sky. It was pretty low-key Sky presentation, to be honest. It was one of those...
Well, they weren't there.
It was one of those, do we have to...
Daggers was there, but the rest of them were in a studio in South London, which is, I don't know.
It's Sky cost-cutting. They've been cost-cutting for years. I think it's across all sports. It's not just... county cricket's obviously been affected worse because it's one of their lower priorities, but all sports have had cost-cutting. It's just the way it is.
I was surprised they actually came down. They actually did come down for the Essex game, didn't they? I was surprised about that.
Because it was the opening... Well, not the opening game, but the opening televised game of the Blast. Put a bit of effort in for that one.
Moving on then. Kent at home last Friday. Rain-delayed game, 5 overs aside. I was a guest of the match sponsors Wallens, who are also sponsors of my club, South Devon, down in Newton Abbot, and it was a free bar. Now, I apparently spent most of that rain delay either watching the racing from Newton Abbot or tucking into that free bar. So I did manage to get home in the end, just about, managed to get the train. And I can't have been that pissed because I decided at the last minute it's probably not the best idea to engage Jason Kerr in conversation at the post-match interviews. But I suppose the plus part of it only being a 5-over game is it didn't take me that long to catch up on it on the recording of the live stream and remember what happened. Riley Meredith, he looked like he was bowling the absolute speed of light, quicker than he bowled in any of the other games.
He was quick against Middlesex as well, mate. But he is quick, Will Smead, when I spoke to him after the last game, said he's the quickest he's ever faced. And Smead is, he's faced some quick bowlers around the world in his time. And he is seriously quick, is Mr. Meredith.
I mean, Andy Hurry and Jason Kerr do get a bit of stick every now and again, but they do seem to unearth some gems when it comes to overseas players. They don't generally put a foot wrong. Cameron Bancroft was an exception. I suppose he was a last-minute sort of replacement for Tom Abel.
Who was the Irishman that you were so sold on for the 50-over cut?
Oh, Curtis Campher.
Yeah.
He
wasn't the greatest signing ever.
He was good. He scored 100. He had a couple of good knocks.
Oh. He was deeply ordinary with the ball.
Apart from Curtis Campher and Cameron Bancroft, their record has been pretty good.
And the remarkable thing is that Meredith has been signed for the whole competition. I mean, a lot of players have had to sign players for shorter stints in the Blast because of the World T20, etc.
Whoa, not quite the whole.
We don't get in for finals day, do we?
Oh, okay, yeah. I meant the whole group stage.
It's only up to the quarter-final.
Yeah.
But is that on the assumption that, of course, we're going to make it to the quarterfinals because we won it last year, and if we don't make it to the quarterfinals, it's probably because the whole team are injured and me and Dan are having to open the batting, or is it because there's an option to extend it a week for finals day?
You see, finals day is in September. That's the problem.
Yeah, the quarterfinals the week before. This is the stupid thing about it. The group stage stops, and then everyone goes off and plays other competitions and championship and one day cup, and then it all kind of creaks back into life, having lost all momentum in the second week of September, I think. No, first week.
Yeah.
Tuesday to Friday, the 3rd to the 6th of the first week of September are those quarterfinals.
Somerset didn't rule out Meredith being available for finals day. I think they said he might be available. It probably depends on when Tasmania want him back for pre-season training. So hopefully we can convince him if we do get there that it'll be better value for him to stay an extra week for us and play some more competitive cricket in a big game, in a big tournament.
Yeah, definitely. Can't argue with that.
He's a lovely lad. He's a proper Aussie. A great big tall. He's got a wonderful set of teeth. He's got a magnum moustache, and he was absolutely over the moon after getting his career best figures at Lords. It was a real pleasure to interview him. A cricketer who's really, really enjoying his work at the moment.
And that's the thing as well. We do go back to the wonders that Sargent and Jason make with these overseas signings. They all seem to be decent blokes as well.
Yeah,
Renshaw's a legend. Henry's a great bloke. Peter Siddle, Miggy P, who's sticking around, who turned up for the twos today, who may be playing on Sunday when we return to Champo cricket, which we'll get onto in a minute.
I think they're very thorough. I think they really do look for the right person with the right qualities, as well as just the raw statistics, etc. And they probably have a sort of a short list in their head at any given time. They probably have a list of names that they think, oh yeah, he might be a good option. He might be a good option. So it's, as you say, it's been overall since 2018 was when they took over as the head coach and director of cricket. Our overseas signings have generally been pretty good.
Yeah,
can't disagree with that. Sam Billings made himself look a bit of a twat as well, didn't he? With his chucking his bat down and beseeching Ian Blackwell for some wide calls.
The umpiring was not very good. It really wasn't. It was inconsistent, and I could understand. I mean, he shouldn't have chucked his bat down and all the rest of it. But Ian Blackwell did not cover himself with glory with his calling of wides, because there was no consistency.
Well, I'm watching the live. It looked like he was taking into account the batter's movement across to the offside.
Sometimes he did, and sometimes he did, and sometimes he didn't. That's what I mean by the inconsistency. Sometimes if the ball was outside the blue line, but the batsman had moved across, he wouldn't give it a wide. But Billings held his ground, and it was outside the blue line, and he gave it as a wide, and it didn't seem to make much sense, in all honesty. I think he got a bit scrambled. It's not easy, especially in those 5-over slogs.
Right, well, I can confirm that he wasn't in the bar with me in the county room, so you can't say he'd had one too many. I mean, the funny thing with these, there's not much of a highlights really. You pull out TKC 24 off 9 balls.
That was massive. That was massive, because without that, I mean, we might have had they might have been chasing 50, which might have been more doable. It's every run really counts in a 5-over game.
Yeah. But they did bowl. We did bowl really well too. It was particularly Meredith. I mean, that ball that he bowled to Billings, that the Billings was going to hook, and it was on to him, and he almost knocked him over. I mean, and DBD was pretty much taken by surprise as well. The one that got him was onto him before he could play the shot properly. It was very, very impressive, I thought, the way. And as with Matt Henry, Craig Overton seems to be inspired by having a really good bowler at the other end, which just takes a little bit of the pressure off him as the leader of the attack, and it just seems to free him up. And he's been bowling really well too, after a slightly sketchy start. I mean, he didn't bowl very well down at Canterbury, but he's really getting into his work now, and I think he enjoys having Meredith at the other end.
Why wouldn't you?
And we knew the rules, which is good, because it meant that we obviously were able to bowl 2 bowlers with 2 overs each, because that rule changed a few years ago. So we were on the ball in that regard as well. Because I think a lot of people were confused. People were thinking, hang on, how are they allowed to bowl more than 1 over in a 5-over game? Mm-hmm. But yeah, the rules changed a few years ago. So for some reason, in a 5-over game, you only need to use 3 bowlers these days.
I suppose that's to try and balance it back towards the bowling side, because you shouldn't ever lose 10 wickets in 5 overs, so you can literally go for broke. I assume that's why it is.
Could be the reason, yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, on to the last game of our Batch of 5 here. Another win on 4 on the bounce, beating Glamorgan at the Cooper Associates County Ground on Sunday. I couldn't make that when I was at the races at Salisbury, but Will Smead making his highest score of the season, 86 of 48 balls, before the collapse to 123 for 7 before Craig Overton and Roloff van der Merwe with 42 and 21 not out respectively dug us out of a hole. You said it earlier on, if 2 or 3 players come off, generally Somerset win a game, and that's what happened.
Yeah. But the mad thing was, I was thinking, when we were 1, 2, 3 for 7, I was thinking, okay, nudge it around for a bit, try and get to 150 off about 18 overs, then maybe try and have a slog and try and get to 170. But to be honest, when we were 123 for 7, I would have taken 150, 160. But Roloff and Craig really showed the value of, even if there's a collapse, just keep going and hope that you come off. And they did. A lot of teams would have been more conservative and would have got less, but they kept going. And it would have been very easy to criticise them if they had kept going and got out and then we, fall into 140 all out or something. But albeit they didn't actually take too many risks. I mean, Glamorgan's bowlers aren't amazing. So they didn't make it too difficult for them. But yeah,
I had a quiet word with Craig afterwards, and congratulated him on the innings. And he said, "Well, they didn't bowl very well, and they didn't bowl very well. He and Roloff had every opportunity, which they took, with both hands, and that partnership changed the course of the game. If we'd been rolled over for 150, that Glamorgan top 6 is strong, and they'd have knocked them off. As it was, they were on the back foot, metaphorically, when they came in, and I thought we bowled superbly, really, really well again. Meredith and Overton, and the whole bowling unit. Lewis Gregory bowled as well as I've seen him in T20 cricket in recent times. It was just a really, really top class bowling performance. And if we can put together the batting performance against Hampshire with the bowling performance against Glamorgan, we'll be hard to beat.
Dan, how was it seeing Eddie Byram back at the Cooper Associates County Ground? A little tear in your eye was there as he strode out?
He hasn't
sure.
improved.
It's shame to see him struggling because he has really struggled in the Blast this year. He came into that match averaging 4.75, so he's probably averaging about 4 now after a 6-ball duck, which of course added to the old maidens list, so that was fun. We bowled 4 maidens already this year. I think we only bowled 3 in the entirety of last year, so it's been pretty ripe for maidens so far this year. We've now won 12 in a row against Glamorgan in T20 cricket, which now exceeds our losing
run against Kent.
So we've now got a 12-game winning run against Glamorgan, which is pretty mad. I mean, I don't know what the world record is for most wins in a row against one team, but yeah, it's good.
Do you know who's bowled the most maidens in T20 cricket in this country? I'll give you a clue. We're up against him on Friday night.
David Payne?
David Payne, absolutely.
Yeah, didn't know that.
Yep.
Well, that's a lovely segue. Anything else on Glamorgan then? I feel we don't need to go into these games in too granular in nature.
I think I'm done with Glamorgan, yeah.
I think we're all done with Glamorgan. Just a quick mention of Will Smead. I mean, he seems to me to be just given absolute licence in this tournament to just go out and play his shots. And I've had a look, and just taking aside the 5 over smash, he's come off, I think you could probably say 3 times in those other 6 games, which is pretty good. I mean, he seems absolutely determined to never make a T20 100 for Somerset. He seems... I mean, 39 against Essex, he sets coming off, 68 against Kent, 16 against Hampshire, 1 against Middlesex when he was just trying to get the job done on a bit of a spicy deck, and then 86 on Sunday. So I don't say he quietly goes about his business, because nothing's sort of quiet about the way Will Smead goes about his business, but because he's generally doing it at the start rather than at the end, and the end of Somerset's innings generally tend to be where it's going mad, and he hasn't, like I say, he hasn't quite made that 100 yet. I just think he just seems to go a little bit unnoticed sometimes. which is
I know what you mean.
to say for a cricketer like Will Smeed.
He was our leading run scorer. Sorry.
He's our leading six hitter as well now. He's got 97 sixes and has overtaken Peter Trigo at 92.
No. Oh, blimey.
Which, considering he's only been playing T20 cricket for, 4 seasons, is good going. And he's really grown up. I was really impressed with the interview he gave. He's I just wish, I'd really hope that he changes his mind about becoming a white ball specialist and does what Tom Banton has done and really work on his red ball game, because he's got such a natural talent that it ought to be on display in all forms of the game.
Yeah, agreed.
He'd make a really good captain as well. He's intelligent, articulate, thoughtful, and he's got all the natural talent in the world. And I think if he's just going to go around the world playing franchise cricket, it's a real waste. I'm a huge fan of Will Smeed.
Yeah, I don't want to say that the ship has sailed, but if you're in the IPL, you're making your millions playing here, there, and everywhere. I mean, Annie Che wrote a good piece about the sort of this nomadic cricketer who isn't attached to a club, just with their own coach, their own physio, a bit like a travelling tennis player or a golfer, just going around the world, not particularly tied to a club. And I like to keep say Will Smeed is always going to be one of our own, but he does seem to be one of the.
Well, he has been playing for Somerset since the age. He's been playing for Somerset since the age of 10. It's not as if he's just sort of blown in the last couple of years. He's one of ours, and it's a shame if we don't see him at his best.
It definitely will. Right, on to the Gloucesters on Friday night. I've not heard anything about any injuries, so I assume we're going to play the same side as we did on Sunday. There's been enough for a rest, unless, of course, with the Championship starting, a scarcely credible Sunday. So the game is going to finish at
36 hours later. Yeah.
That is mental.
It's almost exactly 36 hours. Yeah.
How is that? I mean, I just don't get how that happens. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's.
Why
I think the reason
playing Gloucester tonight and they're having an extra day's rest.
Yeah.
Because Friday nights are important. It's all about Friday nights, maximising the Fridays. And if you look at the way that you can see how it slots in, we've got Friday T20 and then 2 Sundays in a row Championship games, the second of which will finish on the Wednesday, and then it's Friday night again for Chelmsford. I'm actually surprised they haven't slotted in another Friday night T20 match in between those 2 Championship games. It's just the way at this time of year the things slot in. Last year as well, we had a couple of Sunday starts during the Blast. It's just the way that if you're going to have Championship games in the middle of the Blast, it's the way they naturally slot in. It's starting on a Sunday, because then you've got the Fridays either side for the most profitable nights for counties. And obviously there is the debate about whether we could be playing these Championship games now, or whether we should have the Blast in a block and then have the 2 Championship games after, which may have been a consideration. But I'm guessing part of the thinking was, if you have a couple of Championship games now during the World T20, you then get a block of Blast after the World T20 finishes, which is beneficial for getting overseas players in, for maybe giving a bit more attention to the Blast. That was when I first saw the schedule anyway. That was my assumption for the reasoning behind this being the way it is this year.
Well, you could have just played those 2 Championship games at the end of the block of 7 Championship games, or play a block of 9 Championship games, then start the Blast.
People would have not been happy with having 9 Championship games to start the year and being well over halfway through the Championship by the middle of June. I think people want their height of summer Championship as well. Remember, if these 2 games are, I think you can call it now height of summer. I know it doesn't feel like it, but I think late June, early July probably does count as height of summer. If you'd had them in the early June, then there would have been a very, very long time with no Championship until the middle of August. So it does. I think another reason for having Championship games in the middle of the Blast is, for fans, it gives those fans who aren't interested in T20 cricket some games. It means that they don't go like 6, 7 or 8 weeks with no Championship cricket to watch. And also the players, the guys who are specialist Championship players, it means they don't go 6, 7 or 8 weeks with no cricket, with no top level cricket. So there are pros and cons, I think, to doing a couple games now.
So are we going to rest anybody for Trent Bridge from the T20 side on Friday nights?
I think a question is whether Meredith, because we've said Meredith might be available for some championships. So will he play one of these 2 championship games coming up, perhaps? Obviously, we've got Pretorius, who will presumably play at least one of them. Mm-hmm. Overton could miss one of them. I don't know.
It's a difficult one, yeah. I mean, you could potentially say, well, just you could play Sonny Baker and keep Meredith fresh for Trent Bridge.
Sonny Baker play Sonny Baker on Friday night.
Play Sonny Baker on Friday night. Play Meredith at Trent Bridge. If it's going to be a really slow, low,
not on the Bristol pitch.
Or maybe not.
Bring Jack.
Or maybe
bring Jack.
Neither of them.
I'd keep Meredith in because he's the X factor. The Gloucesters won't like it up them.
Well, like it up Mr. Mannering.
Yeah. If they're going to rest, but I think I'd play 2 spinners. I'd play Jack Leach and Van der Merwe.
I reckon if Meredith's going to play one of these 2 championship games, it'll probably be the one against Warwickshire at Taunton, I'd say. It just feels like he might be due another rest now after the Gloucestershire game. Then maybe he'll play the Warwickshire game. That makes sense. I don't think Mick Pretorius is keen to get a game as well. I'm sure he'll play against Notts Bridge.
So who are you leaving out from the Glamorgan team then if you're going to play 2 spinners, Gibbo?
It's a very good question. I suppose Jake Ball probably. Although he has bowled extremely well.
Mm-hmm. He has.
Yeah.
Or unless you rest Craig Overton and keep him for the championship, that might be. I think I'd keep Jake Ball and rest Craig Overton, and save him up for Trent Bridge.
We did do that once or twice last year. We did rest Craig for a couple of T20s to keep him fit for championship. So it would make sense.
Seems absolutely determined to not have a rest this season.
Well,
yeah, he missed the Oval, but the Oval T20 match. But yeah, he's played every championship game, which I don't think any of us were expecting Gregory to play every single one of those first 7 championship games. Blimey.
Well, should we
try and
work out what side we are going to play up at Trent Bridge then? Because, of course, we're now sort of on a straddled preview of the game against Gloucester and then also the game against Notts, which hopefully is going to be played on a slightly more spicy pitch. We're not seeing Joe Clark and Will Young smack nearly 400 between them.
I wouldn't count on it.
Right. Who's going to open the batting then? Do we just
That's the
good question. Opening the batting?
Well, I think Lamond being able, I presume.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I reckon they might do that, but I don't know. Lammonby's been so good at 3. I would love to see Abel and Umid opening and keeping Lammonby at 3, but they really like Umid at number 4, don't they? So
they do.
It's probably 2 of those 3, Abel, Umid, Lammonby.
They say Dixon's been playing really well in the Blast and he might have rejuvenated his championship form. I don't know.
Who's he killing for? I mean, well, hang on. I'm assuming TKC's playing. So if TKC misses out, Dixon's
I'm not.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't TKC play?
Where does he bat? Lammonby's
3.
3?
Where you had Lammonby and Abel opening and then TKC coming at 3 and Umid at 4.
Bantam 5, Rue Gregory.
Bantam 5, Rue Gregory. That's what I'd go for.
That's the 6 I would go for. Not necessarily that order, but yeah, I think it's those 6. Maybe Umid at 3, TKC at 4, perhaps, is what I would do if Umid wasn't going to open. But yeah, I think those are the 6, I think. But you never know. I think there's a TKC will probably play because he was our second highest run scorer in the championship last year. Batted really nicely for us generally. Can be a real game changer in the middle order. Compliments Umid well. Not that I've still got him mad that Umid's a blocker. He's not actually a blocker, is he at all?
No.
But yeah, that's the 6 I'd go with, I think. And I think it'd be nice to just keep. Maybe Dixon should just remain focused on T20. Maybe there's a second 11 game next week. I'm not sure for him to play in the second 11 championship. I'm not sure actually. Is there more second 11 T20s?
Not sure.
So there's finals day coming up. We're home to Northlands next week in the second 11 championship. So
okay,
yeah, for some guys.
Playing that. And then what about the bowlers then? We assume Gregory's going to play at 7, and then what? Overton, Pretorius, and Leach. You think would be penciled in?
Yeah.
Then that leaves you one of Ball, Davey, Meredith, Ogborne, Baker, Leonard, or not Bashir because he's
Aldridge.
Or Aldridge.
Aldridge. He seems to have fallen down the pack, hasn't he?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, since the corresponding fixture against Notts back at Taunton, really, he didn't play that game.
I'd find it hard to leave out Jake Ball. I think he's bowling really well at the moment. He bowled really well up at Chester Street.
Yeah.
And Josh Davey is looking more like the Josh Davey of old. So if Meredith doesn't play, I think I'd have Josh Davey and Jake Ball.
And just looking at this second 11 game that's just finished, I mean, Victoria's got 4 wickets in the first innings. Just looking at the figures, no one else majorly stood out. Ogborne got wickets, but was a bit expensive. Just bowled well in the first innings, 10 overs, 2 for 25. But, no one's making a major case from that game to be picked, I don't think. At least bowling wise.
Yeah.
Maybe just stick Jack Leach at the top of the order. Be done with it.
It wouldn't be a total surprise to me if Leach bats up the order, because he has opened the batting previously in the second 11 this year. And obviously, he came in yesterday. I think it was just a night watchman, wasn't it, at number 3? But you never know. You never know. It could happen, because as Lammerby's batted well at 3. We like him at 4. Maybe Leach and Abel are going to open the batting on Sunday. And it'd be a left-hand, right-hand combination as well.
Yeah.
It's just
so you Leach Abel, then you could stick TKC down in at 6. Rue at 7, and everybody just basically chips down 1.
Well, I would say TKC 5, Banton 6, but it could happen because TKC batted 5 pretty much all of last year, so it could be the way they do it.
Well, who knows? Well, I mean, our record in getting these predictions right is pretty useless over the 4 years we've been doing this, so we'll have to see.
Somerset absolutely loves springing a surprise when it comes to team selection, squad selection. Honestly, as you just said, the number of times over the years me and my brother have discussed the Somerset team and they just do something that we were completely not expecting. It's happened so often, but often the times they actually are right in the end. So,
Lewis Goldsworthy, moving on to him then after we'll park Treadbridge for now. I did enjoy your little thread on him today, Dan. What are we going to do with him? Because I'm going that this is all part of a master plan to say into Lewis Goldsworthy, you aren't part of the team at the moment, but Roloff is potentially retiring at the end of the season. He's going to be 40.
Well, he does have another year in his contract, though. Just worth going
last year. No, it isn't. No, you're right.
He has got 1 year. Yeah. But
Roloff plans for T20 cricket, but we want you playing cricket. We want to sign you again, and we've got a role for you in the Blast in 2025. Or
I think we shouldn't worry. Yes, Roloff does have another year on his contract, but we shouldn't absolutely say, that means he must play. I think it's Roloff. I'm not saying we should drop him, but he hasn't bowled brilliantly in the Blast so far this year. So if Goldsworthy gets in ahead of him on merit, then Goldsworthy should come in, I think.
And add to that he's a very capable championship player as well, who just never seems to win, being given 6 or 7 games in a row, which is such a bloody shame. And they almost got him out with a side at the first chance they could to get Andy Umeed in earlier this year. So
right. It goes back to the start of last year as well, when he got left out for Bartlett to play effectively, despite the fact that Goldsworthy had an incredible second half of 2022. And he showed so much potential then. Had the 100 at Southport, the 90 odd against Kent. he is a very useful cricketer. Useful is probably doing him a disservice. He is a very good cricketer who adds real value to any team with the bat in Championship cricket, with the ball in T20 cricket, with the bat in T20 cricket in the right role as well, as sort of a firefighter in the middle order. He's not really had the chance to do that much for Leicestershire yet because he's been batting down at 9. I mean, you can understand because they've got Ryan Armin and Ben White coming in ahead of him as big hitters at the end. But he is a very, very valuable cricketer, and a lot of counties, I think, will be looking to sign him if he is looking to move, because he's out of contract at the end of the year. I'm sure we'd love to keep him, but right now he's not in either of our teams. Well, he's in the One Day Cup team, but he's not in the Championship team, not in the T20 team. Whereas Leicestershire, I'm sure, would be able to offer him a first choice spot in all formats. There might be some other counties who would also be able to offer that as well.
If I was him, I'd be looking to go elsewhere. It's hard to see how he's going to play regular first team cricket in Somerset, and he's too good not to be playing regular first team cricket for someone.
Is it 1st of July they can start speaking to other counties if they're in the last year of their deal?
I'm not sure.
It's something like that.
There is a rule like that, yeah.
Blimey, what a depressing note to finish on. Any other?
Well. Let me just to be slightly less.
Yes, we'll talk about Western.
Actually, no, that wasn't what I was going to say.
Oh.
The part of the reason we're having this depressing conversation is because we just have so many good cricketers.
Oh yes.
Ben Green's gone out on loan. Bashir's gone out on loan. We have so many good cricketers that inevitably one or two are going to have to leave to meet their full potential elsewhere, which is a shame. But it is a reflection of how good a position we're in as a club in terms of producing players. Because we've got guys coming through. We've got the Thomases coming through. We've got Archie Vaughan coming through. We've got Baker coming through. We've got so much talent who's barely even played first team cricket yet. So there's so much to be excited for in the future, even if one or two guys do leave.
And now we're going to finish on double good news, because Western Storm finished this batch of Charlotte Edwards Cup games with a win. And whereas, is there a better place to win than Chelmsford? Probably not.
No, it's like a reasonably comprehensive win. Yeah, I mean, Heather Knight, I didn't see any of it, unfortunately, but yeah, Heather Knight was the mainstay of the innings. Emma Corney scored, I think it was 49, I think, or 46. Yeah, it's a shame, really, because Storm, they've won twice this year in the Charlotte Edwards Cup, both against Sunrisers. They've come close in a few other games, but yeah, they ultimately didn't really reach their potential in that tournament. To finish 7th, a bit disappointing, I think, but yeah, good to finish on a high, and good in their Western Storm's last ever T20 match. To finish on a win is nice, considering that also Western Storm have history. We've won 2 KSLs, so to go out on a high like that is good. So
what is Western Storm going to be called next year? What's the side based at Taunton going to be called?
I assume it will just be Somerset. I don't see why the club would do anything different. I think it's going to be one club, 2 teams, both called Somerset. I think it'd be weird if we did anything else. If we did Somerset Storm, I don't know. I doubt we'll do that. I think it would just be Somerset, because that's our brand. We got rid of Somerset Sabres, didn't we? Because we don't really feel the need for a nickname. So it'll probably be the same for the women's team.
And as well, Somerset is, although it's not kind of explicitly written down ever, I feel that Somerset is representative of the whole of the Southwest, being the first class county of the Southwest. So it's a bit like, it's just got to be the same pathway now for the women as it is for the men. You know, you play for your minor county, your national county. If you're good enough, you get picked up by the academy of the big club, whether you're a boy or a girl. So
same
pathway.
Yep.
Good stuff. Oh, excuse me. Right, frog in my throat. Right. Well, we await the announcement of the squad for the Gloucesters with bated breath tomorrow. Are you both going up there to the beautiful, unique seat stadium?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm actually really looking forward to this one. The Derby looks like good weather. We've won there the last 3 years.
I thought it was going to rain.
Form, so is it? No, it's not.
What?
Don't ruin my evening.
Oh, everyone's opening their phones now, looking at the
I'm just looking now. Oh no.
Bristol.
It's going to rain.
Bristol. Just say Bristol.
Met Office says it shows 50% chance of rain from 10 p.m. onwards, but the rest of the day it shows sun and cloud. So
a lot better than Kent, and we got a game in against Kent. So
yeah, as long as that rain doesn't move earlier, hopefully we're fine.
Yes, it has improved.
As long as we don't get
Yeah.
that rain that they had at the one day or a few years ago when the pitch was a bog before they even got the covers on. It just came in so bad.
Oh,
But that's
God,
not going to happen. All right.
Yeah.
Best of luck to Lewis Gregory with his championship and T20 captaincy duties to the boys over the next few days. And we'll catch up with you next week. Ta-ra.
Cheers, guys.